Hi everyone, it's Tom at BDI here. Your next vlog article is basically about what to do once you've arrived in the UK. So you've found your job, you've gone through the process of booking your flights, getting your visa, sorting out all the logistics, and now you've arrived in the UK. So what first? So the first thing that you're going to be worried about is, where am I going to live? Where am I going to stay? Where am I going to take my family? The best advice that we can give to doctors is that usually it's easier to arrive on your own and then bring your family across later. The reason for that is that a lot of hospitals will offer single accommodation for doctors, but they won't offer family accommodation. And in the UK, you're not able to lease a long-term agreement. So if you have a property through an estate agent, until you've actually seen it in person. So as I say, that's applicable to long-term leasing options. You must go and see a property first. Now obviously you can't do that before you arrive in the UK. So usually better to sort out with short-term accommodation, either in the hospital itself, or you can look at things like B&Bs, hotels. There are websites such as Airbnb will allow you to rent family accommodation over a week or 2 week period, just while you go and have a look around the area and sort something more long-term out. So you've arrived in the UK and you're sorting out your accommodation. There are two other really important things that you need to consider during that time. Now, when you arrive in the UK, there's going to be a period of maybe a week, possibly 2 weeks, where you can't actually start your clinical duties. You'll need to be cleared by occupational health. You're going to want to sort out your accommodation, as I've just explained. And the other two really important parts are registering with a local police office. There's a list of countries where if you're arriving from those locations, you must register with the police within 7 days of arrival. It's really important to make sure that you check whether or not the country you're arriving from is on that list, and then allocate where you need to go to do that police clearance. It's not every police station that allows you to do that, so you must check online where you can register, whether or not you need to make an appointment before arriving, and then go and attend that documentation check. They'll usually provide you with a piece of paper. You may be asked, if you leave the country and re-enter, to present that alongside your biometric resident permit. So really important to make sure you get that done. Speaking of the biometric resident permit, you must collect that within 1 month of arriving in the UK. Now, our advice is, when you are asked in your visa application your accommodation address, you enter the postcode of the hospital. So the BRP will be sent to a post office which is local to the place you're going to be working. They're not always ready. As soon as you arrive in the UK, it may take a week or 2 weeks for it to be issued to the post office. That's okay. Let your employer know you should still be able to start work without it, but you must collect it within 30 days, and you shouldn't leave the country until you have collected that, if you do need to return home for any reason. Probably one of the most important questions you're going to ask is, how am I going to get paid? And obviously for that you will need to open a UK bank account. In order to make an application to a bank to open an account, you do need to provide a proof of a UK residential address that you're living at. Now, if you're staying in short-term accommodation, be that hospital accommodation or bed and breakfast or an Airbnb, then usually the banks will be happy if you obtain a letter from the HR department at your new hospital, just confirming the contract that you're working in, the length of that contract, your salary and your position, just to give some reassurance that obviously you are here living in the UK. If you've been able to secure a longer term tenancy agreement, you will still need a letter from the HR department to provide the estate agent, but you can also provide the tenancy agreement as a proof of address for opening that bank account. Usually opening a bank account is pretty quickly. You may need to make an appointment, which can sometimes take a week or two, but actually opening the account itself should be pretty straightforward, and you should be able to do that before you're paid at the end of your first month work. Okay, you have set up your bank account, you've got your accommodation for the longer term sorted out. The next logical step is you're going to have to arrange your utilities supplies for the accommodation. So that would be things like electricity, gas, internet, phone connection, water. Obviously these are additional costs on top of the rent that you've agreed to pay for the accommodation. Now that you have a bank account, you can start to look at different providers. We would always recommend that when you move into a property, or once you have it confirmed, you can go online and have a look at all of the different suppliers for different utilities and try and get the best rate. If you're unsure about it, you can contact your recruitment agent if you're working through BDI, or you can simply Google, or there are websites like Compare the Market, Money Supermarket. You can enter in what your requirement is and they'll give you a list of different options and different prices from varying suppliers. Some people may decide not to take on a landline, so a phone that's fixed to your rental accommodation. In those cases, obviously, you're probably going to get a mobile phone. There are two different options for that. You can either go for a pay-as-you-go SIM card, so there's no contract, you're not locked into anything, or you may decide that you want to go for a 12 to 24 month contract. I guess you need to make a decision about what you're going to be using the phone for. If you're keeping a phone from your home country to make calls overseas, then maybe you only need to worry about a pay-as-you-go SIM for UK-based calls. However, you may want to go to a contract plan where it's going to be cheaper to make overseas calls in larger volumes. Our best advice is go to the high street, walk into a mobile phone shop and ask them for their advice. They're the experts. Tell them what you're going to be using it for, and they'll generally give you good advice on what you need. Large telephone providers in the UK includes O2, EE, Orange and Vodafone, which is now EE. You can go to Carphone Warehouse, which is a sort of amalgamation of all of them, but basically go and speak to an expert on the high street and they'll give you some really good advice. I think we've covered off all of the main points. There are probably only a couple of other things you might want to consider at this stage that are considered urgent. One of them would be registering with a local GP and dentist. Because you've paid your international health surcharge as part of your visa application, you and your family are entitled to free healthcare cover. All you need to do is visit your local GP practice, provide evidence of your address, which you've already provided for your bank account, and then copies of your ID and your BRP. Very, very straightforward. Your national insurance number is one thing you will need in order to be paid. You can have a temporary one in the meantime, so it shouldn't hold you back, but generally speaking, your BRP, if you flip it over on the back, you'll have your national insurance number. If for any reason it's not there, it's quite straightforward to apply for one online. You will need to visit a local job centre plus face-to-face just to confirm your identity, and they will provide you with one at that time. But I mean, other than that, I think you've covered off all the main things, and you're ready to get to work. Okay, I hope that has helped you understand a little bit more about the things you're going to have to do once you've arrived in the UK. If there's anything else that you want to know about, please get in touch with us. We can answer you directly, or we can print a blog or do another vlog on areas that you want to know more about. And obviously, if you do want more extensive help with working and living in the UK, get in touch with BDI Resourcing. We'll be more than happy to help facilitate your move. Stay tuned for our next vlog.